The whole of England's going to be affected by this lockdown, which is going to go from Thursday the 5th of November to Wednesday the 2nd of December. Over the next 4 weeks, the government will review the transmission of COVID-19 and the state of affairs across the country. At the end of the 4-week period, the government will either decide whether to extend the lockdown or to reintroduce the regional restrictions. This is similar to the first wave that we had earlier this year, and it requires people to stay at home except for certain purposes and to prevent gatherings and allow certain businesses to carry on, but many businesses will have to shut. Everybody is to stay at home except a certain category of people. If you need to leave the house for childcare or education, if you need to go to work, if you want to leave the house to go and exercise, if you need to accept medical care or escape any injury or harm, if you need to go shopping for essential items such as food and medicines, or if you're part of a bubble, a carer or a volunteer, then you can leave your home. When outside the house, the main principle will still be the same as it has been throughout this pandemic, which is to ensure you wash your hands for at least 20 seconds, wear a face mask properly, and try and retain distance, space between yourself and other people of at least 2 meters where possible. In terms of family and friends, you cannot have any visitors to your house with regard to family, friends or visitors. But if you do have a single adult that is part of your social bubble, and that may be a single adult who has a child, then they can visit your house. In outdoor places, you can either go out as a household, that is going out with people that you live with. You can go out with somebody who is part of your social bubble, or you can go out with one other individual from another household. But as in this diagram, you can't go out with your partner as well as another person from another household. It can only be yourself and that one individual. Outdoor places are defined as parks, beaches, countryside, public gardens, whether you have to pay or not to get into them, allotments, playgrounds, but they do not include your private garden or your backyard. Businesses and ventures that are about to close are listed here. You've got the non-essential retail sector, and you can see in the first yellow box a list of businesses that are defined within non-essential retail. This is not an exhaustive list, but nevertheless, this gives you a broad idea. Also, indoor and outdoor leisure facilities are defined within the second yellow box. We have entertainment venues, which is in the third yellow box. And finally, areas of personal care are defined in the fourth yellow box. As mentioned, this is not a definitive list, and this could be increased at any point by the government. The businesses that are considered to remain open will include food shops, supermarkets, garden centres, retailers providing essential goods and services, and playgrounds. In hospitality, all restaurants, bars, pubs will close. Any takeaways that sell alcohol cannot sell the alcohol, but takeaways that sell food can remain open. With hotels, hostels and accommodation, they can only stay open for those people who need to travel for work purposes. So you can't book a holiday or a trip to another part of the country for a vacation. These should be reserved only for people who have to be in the vicinity of that hotel for work purposes. Other venues that will remain open include venues that provide childcare, provide support groups, and in support groups up to 15 participants can take part, and support groups can include victims of crime, people in drug and alcohol recovery, new parents and guardians, people with long-term illnesses, people facing issues with sexuality or gender, or those suffering with bereavement. If you have a child who is under 13 years of age, you can form a bubble with another family so that the child can be looked after during the day whilst you are at work. Public services that will remain open and that you can travel to include all NHS services, including GP surgeries, NHS community clinics and hospitals, job centres, courts and civil registration offices. With regard to weddings, civil partnerships and religious services and funerals, funerals can still carry on with a maximum of 30 people in attendance, but if it's stone setting or ash scattering, only 15 people can attend. With funerals, stone settings and ash scattering, any individuals that are working in those areas are not counted within the figures of 15 and 30. Weddings and civil partnership events are not permitted except in exceptional circumstances, and places of worship are closed unless they are used for funerals, broadcasting acts of worship, individual prayer, formal childcare as part of a school, essential voluntary and public services such as blood donation or food banks, and other exemption activities such as support groups. Those people who can work from home should work from home. Where people can't work from home and are part of the critical national infrastructure, construction or manufacturing, they should travel to work. Public sector workers in essential services such as education settings should continue to go to work. School, colleges and universities will remain open. If you're a resident at your place of education, such as a university, then you should avoid travelling back home during term time, but you can go back home during national holidays such as Christmas. At present, there is an objection being raised by various teachers across the country, and you will need to stay in touch with the government guidance on whether schools will close or not in the future, but at present, all school, colleges and universities are remaining open. Due to the pandemic, the government has delayed exams for a period of 3 weeks next year to allow students to catch up with their education. All forms of non-essential travel need to stop. Essential travel, including shopping, travel to work for education or caring responsibilities, or to access healthcare, are permitted. Overnight stay is not permitted in the UK or abroad, and you cannot stay overnight in a second home if you have a property somewhere else in the country, unless it is for work purposes and your place of employment is near your second home and there is no way of working from your primary place of residence. You cannot stay at somebody else's house unless that person is part of your social bubble, and if you're under quarantine, you should not travel outside your own home. The government has extended the furlough scheme through November, where you can claim up to 80% of your salary to a maximum of £2,500 per month. Having said all this about lockdown, there is still the risk that it only takes one individual who is infected to be in close contact with you and for you to be contaminated with droplets from their infected secretions. Therefore, the basic principle still stands that remember, clean your hands for a minimum of 20 seconds, wear a face mask properly, and where possible, retain a distance of 2 meters.